Imagine walking into a quiet house on an ordinary morning and finding a scene so disturbing, so unforgettable, that it would haunt investigators, neighbors, and the entire town forever. This wasn't just another crime. This was brutality mixed with precision, a murder staged to shock anyone who saw it. A night that began in silence ended in screams that no one would ever hear, and what was discovered inside still sends chills down spines to this day. In every town, behind every closed door, there are secrets that never see the light of day. But sometimes those secrets explode into something so horrifying that it shakes an entire community. Today, we're diving into one of the most shocking true crime stories ever told, a murder scene so brutal, so unforgettable, that even the investigators who worked on the case could never erase it from their minds. This is not just a crime story. This is a chilling reminder of how darkness can live closer than we think. On that night, the house stood still at the edge of the neighborhood. The curtains were half drawn, the faint light of a single lamp glowing from the living room window. Neighbors later said they thought nothing of it. Some assumed the victim had fallen asleep with the lamp still on. But inside, the scene was something far darker, something that would later shake the entire town. It wasn't until the following morning that everything came to light. A delivery worker had arrived at the house, expecting to leave a package at the doorstep. But instead of hearing the usual shuffle of footsteps or seeing the door swing open, he felt a deep chill when he noticed the door slightly ajar. The house was unnaturally quiet. Curiosity turned to concern and concern into fear as he peeked inside. What he saw made him drop the package instantly and run for help. The police arrived quickly, but even they were not prepared for the sight that awaited them. The living room floor was stained with blood, the furniture overturned as if there had been a violent struggle. The victim lay in the center of the room, lifeless, their body showing signs of both rage and precision. It wasn't just a killing, it was a message. The crime scene unit worked in silence, each officer processing what lay before them. The way the body was positioned didn't look accidental. It seemed intentional, almost staged. The killer hadn't just ended a life, they wanted the discovery to shock anyone who found it. And it did. The sheer brutality, the coldness of the act, would stay etched into the memories of every officer who walked into that room. As investigators dug deeper, they found chilling details. There were no signs of forced entry, which suggested that the victim had either known the killer or trusted them enough to let them in. This detail immediately narrowed the pool of suspects. Whoever did this wasn't a stranger in the shadows, they were someone who had crossed the threshold of familiarity. Fingerprints were lifted from the scene, some belonging to the victim, but others unidentifiable at first. The strange part was the trail of footprints leading away from the living room. It was almost as if the killer wanted to leave behind a clue, but also a puzzle too complex to solve quickly. The autopsy revealed that the victim's final moments had been full of struggle. Defensive wounds covered their arms, meaning they had fought back fiercely. But what struck the pathologist most was the method used. The murder weapon was unlike what they usually saw. It wasn't a gun, nor a typical kitchen knife. Instead, it was something sharper, cleaner, and more unusual. The brutality mixed with precision told investigators they weren't dealing with an impulsive crime. This was calculated. As news spread, the community was gripped by fear. Parents refused to let their children out at night. Neighbors looked at each other with suspicion. And every whisper carried the same question: who among us could be capable of something this horrifying? The investigation intensified. Detectives pieced together the victim's last 24 hours. Phone records, messages, and conversations began to unravel a story that no one had expected. The victim had been in contact with someone unknown, someone who had been appearing more frequently in their life over the last few weeks. Friends recalled seeing a stranger near the house, a figure who blended into the background but whose presence was unsettling. The detectives followed every lead, but the most disturbing discovery came when they checked surveillance footage from a store just blocks away from the victim's home. At around the same time the murder was estimated to have taken place, cameras captured a figure dressed in dark clothing walking calmly away from the direction of the house. No rush, no panic, just calm, calculated steps. That level of composure was chilling. The footage wasn't clear enough to reveal a face, but one detail stood out: the figure wore a distinctive jacket with a torn sleeve. That detail would later become crucial in unmasking the killer. Weeks went by, and while the case remained open, the memory of that murder scene haunted everyone. Detectives couldn't shake the image. They spoke about the smell of iron in the air, the way the silence of the house was heavier than normal, and the sheer brutality etched into every corner of that room. It wasn't just a murder. It was psychological warfare. Slowly, the investigation pieced together a suspect. A person who had once been close to the victim but whose life had spiraled out of control. Financial troubles, personal grudges, and a growing sense of resentment had all brewed together, creating the perfect storm that ended in bloodshed. When the suspect was finally brought in, they maintained an eerie calmness. No tears, no panic, just a chilling stillness, as if they had accepted their fate long before the police arrived. During interrogation, what shocked investigators most was not just the confession, but the complete lack of remorse. The killer described the events with disturbing clarity, explaining every move, every decision, and every intention. It was almost as if they wanted to relive the horror they had caused, like the crime itself was a form of art to them. The court case drew massive attention. Journalists filled the courtroom, the community packed the benches, and every detail was dissected on national television. But what stuck with people the most wasn't just the trial. It was the haunting details of the crime scene. The images, though never released fully to the public, were described by those who had seen them as something no one could ever erase from their minds. The case ended with the suspect being sentenced to life in prison, but even with justice served, the town never truly recovered. The murder scene had left a scar deeper than anyone had imagined. People moved away, families relocated, and for years afterward, that house remained empty. Some even said they could still feel the weight of what had happened inside those walls. And that was the story of the most shocking murder scene ever recorded. A crime that left scars not just on a single house, but on an entire community. It reminds us that sometimes the scariest monsters are not in the shadows, but standing right beside us. If this story gripped you, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends who love true crime, and subscribe to the channel for more chilling mysteries and real crime stories. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and remember, truth is often scarier than fiction.